that we've all had, that and some hopefully that some of you have, that you'd like to come forward and share today.
Sawing that old Studebaker engine in half with a hacksaw, but you couldn't get the camshaft saw.
Or the T-model.
T-model wheel, I haven't, so I remember that experience, some of his earlier engineering enterprises.
Dad and Mom were married on the 6th of April in 1913. They were married at home with my mother, Granddaddy Hinson. They left there the wedding day to go to my grandmother Rose's house to live there. In the meantime, while they were living there, they had to build a house on the place that Dad had, and dig a well and build barns and things. That took quite a while for that to take place. And in the meantime, while they were still living with Granddaddy Walters, I was born there. And I never remember my grandmother Walters because she only lived 12 days after I was born. Later, my granddaddy married a woman named Arvella from Lexie, and she became Grandmother Bell for all the children. Later, when they moved from Granddaddy Walters' house into the house that they were building, the first thing I can remember in that situation there was the fact that I was old enough to remember playing with Kitty in the yard in the pile of dirt they dug out to get the well of water there. And then later on, one day I was out in the yard playing, and the house had woods back of the house, and then in front of the house was a big field between there and another area of wood. While I was out there, I heard a terrible noise coming toward the wood. I began to look, and something came out of the wood with a loud, rattling noise and headed toward our house. And I didn't know what it was because evidently I had never seen a car. But when I heard this rattling noise and the thing coming toward me, I went from the yard under the kitchen table and hid. Later, I found out that it was the doctor coming to deliver O'Lean. So I know when O'Lean was born. And from that experience, through my younger days, I thought all the children had to be ordered from the doctor, and the doctor came to deliver them. Well, living there until I was in the first grade of school, through the first grade. And about that time, people in that area began to leave the farm and go to Langston to work in the cotton mill there. Well, Dad thought he could do something better than living where we were, and he decided to go to town. He went to town and found a used shoe repair place. And we moved into this building, had the repair shop in front, a big room in the middle for the bedrooms and things, and then a smaller room on the back for the kitchen. There was no running water there. We had to go across the street and down the hill to an old spring where everybody about it used out of. And in that situation, the spring was contaminated, we did not put the typhoid fever. And most yearly didn't survive that time. Well, in the fall of the year, Mama and all the children down to O'Lean and J.D. In the meantime, Sheila was born in this building, what I'm talking about, we live in town, where the old Emmanuel Church used to be. All the children that she had then went back to Granddaddy Hinson's house to live through the summer to get in. It was a farm, big cotton and support. Well, Dad stayed home and worked in the shop. A few months later, something happened and the building burned up. It burned everything we had. Dad then had to come back to the country too. But in this meantime, Granddaddy Walters had been stricken with some kind of heart disease, and he was in poor condition. And Dad came there to help out kind of with him while we stayed with Grandmother and Granddaddy Hinson. And that fall, Granddaddy Walters died. And we moved from Granddaddy Hinson's house with the agreement that Dad could work the farm on Granddaddy Walters' house the next summer and let us live with Grandma Bell. Well, that's what happened then, and that put us back together as a family there before we were separated off and on for a good bit in the past year. Well, when come in those years, when the family had to settle up and stay, it was different from what it is now, quite a bit. Everything we had was put on sale at the county courthouse in the fall of the year. Well, Dad had hoped to buy Granddaddy Walters' house and the farm it was on. But in our community, there lived a man that was very wealthy, and he was also a gambler, and he was also a drunk. Well, when the bidding started, Dad said he just kept running it up on him and running it up on him, but he knew he couldn't afford to buy the place or the house, so he let it go to the man. Instead, he bought the farm and house down back on Welcher for the rest of you that were born and lived there. This house he bought was Granddaddy Walters' other house he lived in before he built a new house up on the highway where he lived when he died. You can't imagine now, you people, what kind of house that was, but all these children here know, all the younger children know now what it was. The house was built out of green lumber when it was built. And you know what happened when you put the house together with green lumber. It shrank. And the floor in it was about 8-inch boards. Shrunk with about half-inch crack between each board. You could see the chickens crawling around under the house. When you went to sweep the floor, you just swept the floor and it all went through the cracks. And the walls were put together in it. The cracks, you could see through them and look in the other room and spot what was going on there. And the other person said, no better. That's the kind of house it was when we first moved there. I just thought I'd like to bring this along, because many of the younger children evidently didn't know anything about what transpired before they were born and moved into the house where they lived until they moved where Flossie lives now. Sorry, too long.
Walker had, and it's still on number 9, if you don't know where it is, going towards Flossie's house. It's a 2-story White House. But that's where we were living when I went to my first day of school. I remember going up that road to Hopewell School, and I remember the kind of dress I was wearing. Had a red polka dot jumper and a white blouse. And I thought I was really something. I was really dressed up. But that's all I remember about first grade. When I took my clothes and a little green box, and that was my suitcase. And a few other things I just jotted down. I remember Daddy killing a gold busty one time, and he didn't completely kill it, and it ran around and around the house after he stabbed it. And it took it for a while before it fell down on the ground. And I remember Mama left Tilly and me at home to take care of the children when they went somewhere. And Ray crawled up in a tree and fell and split his chin. Wasn't it your chin, Ray?
Yeah.
You still have a scar. And what?
It was Clem's.
It's
fault.
Clem.
I got the belt for that. Let everybody call her today.
Clem handed it to him.
Yeah, and Clement got the belt for it.
Right.
And we were trying to do something with it when Mama came home. We didn't know what to do. It was bleeding so. And he has a 3-corner scar there now. And another thing about Ray, maybe he wants to tell this. If you correct me if I'm wrong, but anyway, he got into some kerosene and drank it. A cup of kerosene, wasn't that it, Ray?
Now everybody knows.
Now everybody knows what's wrong with it. And he was completely limber. I mean, limber. He was just like this. He couldn't stand up for anything. Mama held him all night long. First, she sent us to the store to get some castor oil. And she gave him castor oil to take, but that didn't do any good, I guess, but she was just trying to do something right. But then the next day, he got better. But we thought he was going to die because he was limber all night long. And another thing I remember, just jumping around from one thing to another, Shelby and Tilly and I think we're the ones that went fishing one time. Where we lived in that old house, there was a creek down below there, and sometimes we went fishing. And I can't stand to this day to watch water real long because it makes me dizzy. And I was up there fishing, and I just fell over in the creek. So they had to pull me out of the creek to take me home wet. It was, as well as I remember, it was real cold. So there I went all the way home in these dripping wet clothes. I remember when Flossie was born. I was at school, and I knew Mama was expecting, and I had picked out a name for a little girl, and I wanted her to be named Vivian Winona, because that was my favorite name. And when I got home, she was already named Flossie May. But that was all right, that was Mama's name. Winona was my Latin teacher, and she is Lexie's, what, your friend?
College roommate.
College roommate, wife's mother. She's still living today. But I thought a lot of her, and I wanted Flossie to be named that. I believe that's about all I had jotted down here. I can't think of anything else right now. I remember when our house was burned in Lancaster, and we were staying in Grandma's office on at that time. Everything was burned except the trunk, Jeremy. Got out one trunk, and it has some quilts and things in it. Is what I remember. Do you remember that? But then we lived at Grandpa Walter's house for about a year, I think, when I was in first grade.
Well, you can tell us about Charlie Robertson. He said you were the prettiest girl in Lancaster County. He chased you all over that county. You wouldn't have a thing to do with him.
Well, I liked him all right. Maybe he was better looking than George, but anyway, I
Didn't have that turkey.
That really didn't say so now.
know. Now, Ray, you can tell some tales on me.
I don't remember any to tell on the individuals much, but I just want a few little things that I jotted down the other night that I do remember that might be interesting to you. I do remember when we moved to the old house, from Granddaddy's house down, because Mama and I guess Sailor was, I don't know where he was, but we walked from that house down across the field in the woods, down to the house we moved to, and Daddy took the furniture, they went around and rode in the wagon. But I remember, the only thing I remember about us moving, us leaving that house and walking down across the field in the woods, down to the old house down there. The earliest thing I remember about school, I don't even remember my first day of school. That's hard to remember, but I started school before I was 4 years old. Before I was 5 years old. I was about 4.5 years old. They said when the other kids went to school, I cried every day, wanted to go, so they just sit there.